What's happening, people? Harry Scarfe, football content creator and YouTuber with your daily Tottenham news headlines, stepping in for the wonderful Craig Dearman. Let's get straight into it. Before we do, if you're new to the channel, please like and subscribe. Welcome back to the channel, and thank you, Chris Callan, for this opportunity. Let's get straight into it. Morgan Gibbs-White has signed a new deal at Nottingham Forest until June 2028. Fabrizio Romero reports that the deal was off with Tottenham after all agreed medical booked, and Nottingham Forest were furious with legal action prepared right after the Spurs approach. Morgan Gibbs-White accepts to stay at Forest this summer. The Sun report Morgan Gibbs-White is understood to have been so impressed by Mariaka's enthusiasm and vision for Forest's future that he agreed not to pursue a transfer to Tottenham. Thomas Frank on the match versus Wycombe, he said, I felt the high pressure and regaining of the ball was very successful throughout the game. We regained it, I don't know how many times, but we created 6 or 7 very dangerous situations where we could have done even more and where we scored the second goal. In the first minutes, Wycombe's runs in behind were really good, so we really focused in on that. So those were 2 positive things, but we focused on defending well and we gave 2 goals away that we shouldn't give away. Thomas Frank on his takeaways from the match versus Luton Town, he said, I felt that there was a bit to be worked on still. 2 mixed teams, a little bit out of sync. The boys put everything into it, head down, working hard. But those connections, relationships, it definitely was not fluid. Paul O'Keefe reports that technically Morgan Gibbs-White could have bought himself out of his original contract on August the 19th. Thomas Frank has said that Destiny Udogie and Solanke only missed Tottenham's game versus Luton as a precaution. He said Dom had a minor ankle issue, nothing we're worried about, just a precaution for the game. Destiny felt something in the warm-up, so again, just a precaution. Alistair Gold reports that Bentancur missed out on the game versus Wycombe today due to illness. On this day in 2022, Bryan Gil signed for Tottenham Hotspur, and Fabrizio Romero reports that Tottenham have genuine interest in João Palhinha, as initial approach has been made with his camp, and more will follow in the next weeks, as there's been no formal proposal submitted to Bayern Munich yet. Mail Sport report that Christian Romero will be the leading contender to become the next captain of Tottenham Hotspur if Heung-min Son departs for the LAFC after the club's pre-season tour, which at the moment is expected. Football London report that Mikey Moore is keen for a loan move this season to ensure he gets regular first-team football for his development. Thomas Frank will make the final call on what to do with Mikey Moore. Mirror Football report that Tottenham are open to selling Son Heung-min if they receive an offer between 15 and 20 million pounds. Lastly, Fabrizio Romano reports that LAFC have already presented their initial proposal to Heung-min Son as the new star of their new project. Decision is up to Son, and they speak to new manager Thomas Frank shortly and clarify his future as soon as possible. Spurs will let Son decide about his next steps. So they're your daily Tottenham headlines the last 24 hours. Let's get straight into it and dissect them and give my opinion. First one that I've got to talk about, it's a big one. It's the most recent one, and that is Morgan Gibbs-White. I mean, I think it's a real shame. From a Spurs point of view, I think it's a real shame. I don't think it's the end of the world in terms of we've got a lot of depth in that number 10 role, but it's the name, Morgan Gibbs-White. It's the ability and quality he has rather than plugging gaps or anything. But we've got to move on from this. As frustrating it is, we've got to go, let's get on with our transfer window, because now all of a sudden we're really far behind the transfer window. Some would say, and they might have a point, that even if Gibbs-White deal got through in the end, the amount of time we spent on it, weeks, it just put us behind. So it's frustrating. All of a sudden the window doesn't look as good. It's frustrating. He just wasted so much time. But Morgan Gibbs-White clearly doesn't have the ambition. And I think Mariaka's bullying tactics have worked again. I get why Mariakas would have wanted to keep Morgan Gibbs-White and Nottingham Forest, wouldn't have wanted to lose him and Alanga, the 2 best players last season, wouldn't have looked good. So I totally understand that. But shame, I think Morgan Gibbs-White has been complicit, and obviously signing this new deal, how much he would have wanted that or had to say, I don't know. But it's frustrating because it's a wasted time on the deal. But yeah, no ambition to go to a top 6 club, no ambition to play in the Champions League. So it's a real shame, and it's, you've got to respect the decision, but it hurts. There's no 2 ways about it. But it's just shame as well on those Forest fans on social media that, saying horrible things about him and his family, and now will pretend that they absolutely love him. They know who they are. That's all I'll say. Yeah, Gibbs-White till 2028. I mean, Forest threatening legal action. I mean, I think it's all a little bit petty, just because we've come in for their best player and they've realised, 60 million release clause. He's absolutely worth that. We should have been a lot higher. So it's off, and he's going to stay. Not the Forest. So hey ho. It's just frustrating. As I said, we've got to move on. We've got to continue with our transfer window. We can't let it stop us. I just think question Gibbs-White ambition, but wasted time on this deal, no doubt about it. We've got to move on to the next one. No time to waste. We've got to get moving. It is frustrating. It hurts, and it's going to be on the lips of lots of Spurs fans for a long time to come. I don't think, I could be wrong, so you don't know the ins and outs, but I don't think, for me anyway, this is on Daniel Levy. I think it's Forest, and it's what more could we have done? I think he acted quickly, couldn't have done anything else really to get through, maybe pay compensation, but at the same time we didn't really need another number 10 as good as Morgan Gibbs-White is. But the Sun's report's interesting about he's understood to be impressed by Mariaka's enthusiasm. I think Mariaka's gives it the big talk, but he's a bully. We've seen that with officials. We've seen that with Nuno. We've seen it in several incidents where he's totally lost his head and been really unprofessional. Track record in England already in a short period of time, but also before coming to England isn't pretty. Let's move away from the frustrating Morgan Gibbs-White saga that Spurs be very keen to put behind them quickly. Thomas Frank about Wycombe seems a little bit more positive in the way he's speaking, picking up from these quotes, because I didn't see the actual interview, that he's more positive about Wycombe than Luton, which is interesting. Obviously, both League One clubs. He sounds like he's really happy with Wycombe. He talks about high pressure, regaining the ball, to create 6 or 7 dangerous situations. Could have got more. However, he's just saying, but we shouldn't concede those 2 goals. Whereas against Luton, his words were, as I said there, I felt that there were quite a bit to work on. 2 teams out of sync. Boys put everything into it, to be fair, but definitely not fluid. Relationships weren't there. So, 2 draws. We can't overreact to pre-season. Those fans overreacting to a couple of draws against a couple of League One clubs early on. That's, for me, no. Don't overreact. It's pre-season. However, maybe this suggests that, we all know we need a little bit more in the transfer window. You've got to get that balance, but there's no need, as far as I'm concerned, to jump the gun, jump to conclusions. It's a friendly. It was at our training ground. I don't know why fans are angry. Pre-season's all about fitness. It's all about getting up to scratch for the season, identifying areas in need of development or depth. I don't think there's any need to jump the gun, rush to conclusions. Thomas Frank's happy, then we've got to understand that. Of course, there'll be a lot that he wants to improve on, a lot that he wants to change as well, and he'll be the first to tell you that. But 2 draws could have been a lot worse. But we expected to win both of them. That's the problem. We haven't. But I don't look too deeply into that. It's about performances rather than the results. Interesting. Morgan's right in his original contract could have buyed himself out of his contract by August the 19th. But Paul O'Keefe said at the time it was virtually unprecedented. Udogie and Solanke missing the game as a precaution. Solanke with a minor ankle injury. That's why I think we need a top striker. It's all going to happen with Wissa to replace Richarlison, because I can see Solanke as well as Richarlison being injured for a long time this season. Hopefully I'm wrong. Bentancur missed out with an illness. Hopefully be back. Bryan Gil signed on this day in 2022. Some players just aren't right for the Premier League, as I'll say. One of the worst signings probably in our history. £25 million plus sending Lamella the other way. It's just unforgivable stuff. Palhinha, the interest in him. I like him, good short-term option. I think a loan would make more sense, season-long loan. But if we're ambitious, I said it before, but that more gives money and a lot more, I'd put into a long-term investment, long-term signing. But I'm ambitious and spend the bucks on someone like an Adam Walton, who is, I think, the future of English football in particular. Midfield, I think he has a lot to bring for that number 6 role. No surprise that Romero will be the leading candidate and contender, I suppose, to become the next captain of Son Parts, vice captain after all. And just his conversation with Frank today come across to me as a vice captain. I don't know whether Maddison will keep his role as a vice captain. I think he will, maybe. I don't know. It's hard to tell. Mikey Moore looks like he's keen to get first team football. He seems very keen and focus driven, if you like, on his development. I think I wouldn't be opposed to it. I would have been a long time ago. It depends where he goes. I'm not quite sure what club would be best for him, whether it be inside England or outside of England. But it's up to it's totally up to Thomas Frank, whatever Frank thinks is best, whatever Moore thinks best for his development. But either way, we know Moore's a real talent. So people say, oh, these people have been up. We haven't seen a lot of him. Just give him time. Just give him time. Don't jump. Again, don't jump the gun. Comes back to what we were saying. We'll move on to the next headline that I want to discuss and get into, and that is about Son Heung-min's kind of LAFC talks and his asking price. I mean, 15 to 20 million pounds isn't a lot, but I suppose it's better than getting nothing for him. Surely we could get another 5-10 million out of him. You know, Saudi just tell him he's a top player and we might be able to get 60-70, you never know. But all jokes aside, I think it makes sense to let Son leave on the high, but Son also has the right to determine his own future, his status, if you ask me. But as your daily Tottenham news headlines with me, Harry Scarfe, filling in for Craig Dearman. Make sure you check out all the work he does for the channel. If you want to follow me, you can at HarryScarfe32 across my own personal socials. I'm a football content creator, YouTuber, podcaster, and football writer. Also, my YouTube channel, Harry Scarfe, which contains my very own Spurs podcast within two called the Scarfe Spurs Podcast, but my private regular here at Chris Callan's channel. Like and subscribe to the channel. I want to thank you for this opportunity. I want to thank you guys as well for coming in today. And a massive come on you Spurs.